Hi everyone, it's Leslie Sue with Art and Talk. We are in the Spartanburg Art Museum in Spartanburg, South Carolina for the opening reception of Transcendence. Transcendence is the examination of the mental, spiritual, and physical struggles of humankind. It features the artwork of Bailie, who is next to me, and we'll be having an art conversation in just a moment. He's a local Spartanburg, South Carolina artist, and it also features the artist of David Linn, who is a Colorado surrealist painter. So I'd like to introduce you to one of the featured artists here at Transcendence, Bailie. Hi, Bailie.
Hey.
It's great to be with you.
Thank you.
So tell us about, maybe we could start broad and work a little small. So Transcendence, we're going beyond.
Right, it's from here to there.
From here to there. Now, how does that correspond with your amazing artwork?
Well, I mean, art's a journey. Each piece itself is a journey. It's, as I tell all my students, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And so many times I'm guilty of getting this close to the finish line and going, okay, what's next? Because once I realize I can obtain it, I'm no longer interested in it. So it's the journey. I love putting it together, trying to figure out how it's going to work, making it happen, fixing the problems, etc. And then, like I said, once I get to the end, it's like there's no more challenge and I'm ready to move to the next thing.
So you're really into the process, being very process-oriented. And I'd love to find out the creative spark and the inspiration. It sounds like it may be within the creative process itself. Like, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of thought before it. It sounds like everything is sort of worked out while you're actually creating your artwork. Is that correct?
Right. Mm-hmm. And especially in abstracts, because you don't construct them, they're creative frenzies. You can mess up an abstract. You get it all, looks great, and you put the one stroke here and it does it, and it goes against everything else. Well, you don't know how you did anything on the sheet, so you have to repaint everything else to make it all back into place, because it's abstract work, but it still has to have composition, it still has to have form and function.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the form and function, is there an overall message that you are attempting to convey, or is it all just in the moment, expression, color, composition?
That's all it is. It's a creative frenzy. It's just, you let it happen. It's hope it works, hope it works, hope it works. I do my abstracts in the round, so I work on them, and I don't have a set way to look at them, so I don't try to force them to be something. Mm-hmm. Then when I'm finished and I like the movement, I flip it around until I like the way it looks and go, sign it here.
So you're literally looking at it from all sorts of different angles. Right. So you have this like very, very open mind, open creative process that you don't limit yourself. It sounds like you purposely make sure you don't have limitations on yourself. I'm wondering, before we kind of get into a little bit more of your art, I'm wondering if the viewers may be able to take some advice from you, because you're into the process, you're into the journey, as you stated. And that's not always the case for a lot of people. That's always, like, are we there yet? Kind of mentality. Do you have any tips, any ideas, any recommendations of how people could be a little more journey-oriented, really diving into it, accepting it, moving forward with it, etc.?
Stop looking for the destination. If it's the payoff you're looking for, you should probably find something else to do. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not about, back to the journey, if it's not about the journey and the process, it's like you don't rush through your vacation to get home.
Right.
I mean, that's a perfect example. It's like you go on vacation, you take your time, you enjoy everything that's going on while you're there. Eventually you'll get home. Mm-hmm. It's like with any artwork. Eventually you'll get to the end. So don't make that the key point, because if that's the key point, you're missing out on the journey. You're missing the whole point of art in the first place. Mm-hmm.
And I love that analogy, the journey and a vacation. I think that creates a whole different mindset. So that was beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
So let's talk about, you have also some paintings in here, as you would say, have a little bit more of a whimsical, kind of, can I use the word fantasy, super imaginative, high voltage creativity, as your abstract does too, but you move in a different direction. You have very distinct styles within an overall style. Could you share with us some about the kind of more whimsical paintings that you have? Where does that come from? What is that all about?
And I've just always liked whimsical, creepy little characters, and I've got so many of them in my head that just roll around, and they just create themselves. And once I decide I'm going to do something, then you have to figure out, once again, back to the journey, Where are they? What are they doing? Where's the light coming from? Why are they here? Do they have a purpose? Then you have to make that art.
So you bring all the questions and then all the creative process in the actual creation of the piece itself.
Right. I may start with a tiny idea, I'm going to do this. But by the time you're heading that way, you end up over here. And you can't distract it and pull it back somewhere else. You have to let it do what it's going to do.
So you kind of let go and let the creative process take you on that journey, and you're along for the ride, so to speak. Now let's talk about your 3D sculptures that are here. Now, some of those do deal with some heavy mental health issues, and could you tap into some of that, and do you have any personal reflections you'd like to share on that topic?
Well, it's about mental illness, and I have mental illness. In fact, one of the sculptures is me, one of the interviews is about me, and so it's very, very personal. I interviewed 6 different people, myself included, with different illnesses, and I asked them, when it got down to the sculptures, I gave them 3 sentences to tell me what it's like at the worst part of their mental illness. And I used those 3 sentences to create their sculpture it's the sculpture of their illness, not the sculpture of them. And even with my own, I tried to just do mine, and it didn't work. I had to actually do the interview and write the questions and answers down to go, okay, I couldn't just be me and do it. I had to get into, when I'm at my worst, what do I feel? How is this? And that's a perfect portrayal of PTSD for me.
Now, through the process of creating art, specifically addressing mental health issues, which is kind of the overlighting theme of this exhibit, do you find that it's cathartic? Do you find that it's healing once you kind of move through creating some of these pieces that are a little bit more tailored to that, where you're actually consciously thinking about these things that are going on within you, then executing it in an art piece? Is there some healing that goes on?
Oh yeah, it's definitely about stamping the stigma. What you can't say owns you, and as long as you keep it inside, it's gonna go. But as soon as you let it out, I carried all that stuff around with me forever and wouldn't tell anybody anything. But once I told my therapist all the stuff that was inside me, I'm free. I'm free for myself. I'm no longer a prisoner of my own secrets. If it's out, I can tell anybody anything that happened. If you want to talk about my abusive parents, hey, no problem. I'll throw it right on the table. It doesn't stress me out. I don't get upset about it. If you want to talk about, drug addiction, if you want to talk about living on the street, if you talk about anything that comes along with how it all put together and formed the mental illness that is in me. That's just how it worked out.
So first of all, I appreciate you sharing that. So there is that sense of healing, there is that sense of kind of coming to some type of resolution, and I think one of the main things that you said also is that there's that openness to share your experiences. And I was doing a little bit of research before coming here, and looking at some stats for 2025 on mental health issues, things that are going on globally as well as in the United States. And some of the ways that one can move forward with this is through openness and sharing one's experience. So lots of kudos to you for addressing it and for acknowledging it and sharing your experiences, because I'm sure it has and will continue to help many people.
First time I did this exhibit was in 2021, and after it came down, I had over 300 people that I did not know contact me, thanking me for being the voice for them.
Yes.
People stopping me in restaurants, at the mall, on the side of the street. I even had somebody stop me on a walk on a cottonwood trail and thank me. It's like, you don't know me, but I went and saw your exhibit, and I want to thank you for being the voice for all of us that can't do what you do.
Yes. And I know that you also reach people through teaching, and I believe you teach in the visual arts per se traditionally, but also art therapy. Is that correct? And can you just share a little bit about that as well?
My students in my life, I had a great mentor who gave it to me, and I'm just trying to pass it along to them. They're generally the highlight of my day. Don't get the big head, guys. They're generally the highlight of my day, and I love teaching. I mean, I've taught elementary school, I've taught junior high, high school, college, lifelong learning at Wofford. I taught here for the art school for 20 years. I taught in the projects for 7 years. I've done autistic students, at-risk kids, so I pretty much covered the whole gamut of teaching, and I love every bit of it. I was resident artist at the Deaf and Blind School for 4 years. That was very enlightening. I taught blind students how to sculpt, which is an awesome feeling.
Wow.
So the teaching itself I don't think people realize where all you can go with teaching. When you think teacher, you think school teacher. It just kind of stays there. But it's so expansive that most people don't realize what teachers actually bring to everybody's life.
Yeah, and I think expansive really describes you, your heart, your mind, your approach. It's really, really beautiful. It's very, very inspiring. Just a few other quick questions, if you don't mind. When you enter your studio, do you move in a certain space where you say, okay, like, I'd like to do a sculpture now, or I'm feeling abstract, or I'm feeling to do these creepy, whimsical characters? Is there a certain, I don't want to say trajectory, but a little bit of an agenda, then you enter your studio and you move forward, or is it just purely spontaneous, just purely, I'm in my studio, okay, I'm letting the process take over and I'm going for it? It's
both. Usually when I go in, I'll probably started something that's going to go in a direction, and I'll go out there, okay, I'm going to paint today. Or God, I'm going to sculpt today. I'm going to go out, I'm going to do abstract today, because they're all separate mindsets. And like, when you do abstract, you can't do abstract for 15 minutes and then go teach a class. You've got abstract, you're in for the count. You've got to do all of it while you're there. Encaustic's the same way. You're not going to do encaustic for 2 hours. You can do encaustic all day. You can paint for 20 or 30 minutes and stop. But all mediums don't lend themselves to that same thing. So usually when I go in, I already have a mindset of what I'm going to do. Sometimes I'm going to paint and go, yeah, it's just not here. I'm going to go do this instead. But generally, I kind of got an idea of which direction I'm going to go in. Mm-hmm. Now, your senses are so alive. I can tell in so many ways. I would just love, can you just take us through walking down the street as Bailie? What do you see? What catches your eye? What touches your heart and soul? What is captivating to you? What's inspiring you? What is that like? You just want to step into your shoes for a moment. Sadly, there's not a lot of things that touch my heart and soul. Mostly what I pay attention to is light and shadow. Because as a creator, I don't replicate. So I don't look at pictures and paint them. They all come out of my head. So as a creator, creators have a different set of problems than replicators have, because we have to create the source of light. We have to know where the shadows are going to be, how they're going to hit the floor, if they go up and go up onto the wall too, reflective qualities that go into the shadows. If this wall's red, that's going to work into this color of the shadow. You have to be aware of light source, where it's going to hit, how it works at all times. In fact, I'll be watching a movie with my wife, and I'll go, that can't happen. And she'll say, what do you mean? I said, well, they're carrying a candle in their hand, but there's a shadow on the wall. So if the candle's here, how can there be a shadow on the wall? She's like, just watch the movie. But I can't, because it's just constant. I'm analyzing color, light, shadow, distances, space all the time. Right, so you're walking down the street, color, light, and shadow, boom, boom, boom. That's what you're picking up on, and then that's what you bring into your studio in your amazing artwork as well. I just want to mention to everyone that Bailie also has some amazing large-scale murals throughout Spartanburg, and also I believe throughout the state as well. What's next for you? That's always the big question. Right now I've stumbled into, it wasn't going to be a body work, but I've stumbled into doing creepy, whimsical storybook characters, and I think I'm going to call it Once Upon a Time. And that's your current project? That's one of my current projects. One of your current projects. Well, we'll be on the lookout for that. That sounds interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to share about Transcendence, or anything to do with mental health, or your artwork that we haven't touched upon in this art conversation? No, but as far as Transcendence goes, it's not just me. David Linn is an amazing artist. He blew me away when I first showed up on the scene in the late 90s, and little by little I got to be chit-chat with him. We've got to be buds, and I asked him to do this, and it's just so super honored to have his work in it. His work is so moving and spiritual and deep also, so it's just a different level of what I'm doing. No, there's one other question, and then we'll wrap this up. When the viewer comes and approaches, like here we have some of your abstract works over here, and we'll make sure we get some video of it, of your whimsical paintings and then your sculptures. When the viewers stand in front of them, is there anything that you're hoping to have them experience, any emotion, any response, You always want the viewer to experience emotions they would not have felt otherwise. When I do the characters, I want you to figure out what's going on. I want you to have your own analogy. I might have meant this, but that's not the point. It's not what I meant, it's how you perceive it. That's what's important, because if I don't tell you what I meant and you don't see that, my point is it doesn't matter. I want you to have your experience with the art, because when you buy a piece of art, it's because it spoke to you. It's not because I told you what it was about. You went, oh, I love that. I gotta have that. I really want this piece. I can relate this piece, and and then it's a relationship between you and the art, which what drives people to buy art. But some people love this, and some people love that. Usually, when that happens, they hate that and love this. So it's like some people love country, some people love rap.
Right.
People that love country usually hate rap. People that love rap usually hate country. So it's not always, but generally people like fish, don't like steak, or steak don't like, etc.
Now, I just have one other question I wanted to ask you. So we're looking at mental, we're also looking at physical in terms of transcendence, and as this exhibit is an examination. Now, there's also the spiritual, which is very important, and I know you also do some beautiful spiritual work. Would you care to touch upon that?
That just comes and goes every now and then. When I first started, my mentor told me to paint the masters. And I painted nothing but master paintings for 4 years. Well, what did the masters paint? Spiritual pictures, because that was them being, a lot of people were illiterate back then, so they were painting the Bible. And that's what a lot of the murals, like in the Sistine Chapel, that was the whole story, was to paint the Bible in the Sistine Chapel for the people that couldn't read, could see the story all throughout the chapel. And that's where it started, but being a spiritual person, I'm a Christian, so I just kind of move in and out of it. I don't do it very often. I do some church bulletins in church Sunday, and I do something with that. But other than that, every now and then I'll just get moved by a piece and decide to do one piece, and it just kind of goes into the pile with all the other spiritual work.
Bailie, it's been such an honor to have this art conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time, and wish you much success, personally, professionally, and of course with Transcendence. Thank you so much.